cancel culture in academia and gaslighting in academia. The case study is my personal case study and my PhD at George Mason University, and the first year, the first semester, as a part of the PhD studentship or scholarship, I was supposed to be a graduate teaching assistant of a course titled Global Affairs, Introduction to Global Affairs or Global Affairs, and I was a GTA, and the supervisor was the head of the Global Affairs program. I don't know if she's still the head. Her name is Lisa Breglia. And in the first few weeks, my cohort virtually all of us, maybe there were 4, and I think 2 of us were teaching this course. Me and a student from Canada, he was transgender. And I had more experience than teaching, if not global affairs. So in the first few weeks, globalization and market efficiencies and global liberal markets and deregulations and decreases of the costs and the advantage of shifting, of relocating production and outsourcing and producing in another country where it's cheaper to produce and selling in your country, and all that stuff around the deregulation and relocation of production and cost minimalization and all those things. I was teaching in the first few weeks, and the subject of one of the first lectures was, trade and how it was more efficient to produce, let's say, manufacturing products and textile for United States, because I was in the United States and the students were mostly from the United States, and there were a few international students from Middle East and Asia, maybe 1 or 2 from Europe as well. So more or less the majority was American in the course, even if that was a global affairs course. And that was the year after the elections in the United States, and the Democrats had lost and Hillary Clinton had lost. And when I was teaching this, was probably the third, if not the first, maybe one of the first few weeks, how it is cheaper, more efficient and convenient, not only for the United States, for a lot of countries in the global north, to produce textile products like shirts and sweatshirts and the sweat shops in Asia, maybe China, Indonesia, I don't know, Vietnam, Taiwan, and the minimalizing the costs of production and selling it in your home country. And one of the students wanted to give an example. The student was more or less more knowledgeable compared to the other students. Probably she was there to just like keep an eye on how I teach the course, if I'm to see if I'm open-minded, liberal, or whatever. I think because she didn't look like she needed to take the course. So she gave an example of one of the Hillary Clinton's slogans after she lost to Donald Trump. She made a T-shirt Clinton, it turns out that she made a T-shirt, and the T-shirt, she said, my student said, might have been produced in Asia, but the T-shirt had a slogan, an American slogan, saying that a woman's place is not the House, but the Senate. And, well, of course, my English were more or less worse than my English now. And I use a term that, I mean, of course, you're producing T-shirts, and it's more convenient and cheaper to produce in Asia. And, well, I mean, maybe Clinton doesn't need to do so because, I mean, you're not going to sell billions of T-shirts. But I said, I mean, the cost of producing this T-shirt is low, and the slogan is free. I didn't use the word free, but I said the slogan is cheap, without having no idea about the cultural meanings of the term. But in the very same week, turns out that the student caught me saying something bad about Clinton's slogan, cheap. Well, I mean, more or less, it doesn't sound like a feminist slogan. It sounds like a reversal of the feminist slogan, or turning it upside down. It's more, well, arguably it could be a cheap slogan in the very cultural sense of the term, but I had no idea. I hadn't used that term, cheap, in the cultural sense, which means that it's lame. It's just, why are you saying this? I mean, it's a cheap motto or something like that. But I use the term financially or economically, saying that I mean, you don't need to pay for the slogan. So, I mean, the motto is for free, and you're producing in Asia. The cost of producing this T-shirt is very low, so you can just sell it easily. I mean, you don't even need to sell, because, I mean, if Clinton is having that produced and selling it on the website, whatever. So the following weeks, I began to be academically gaslit by the heads of these programs, and they even pushed me into gaslit me again, into thinking that I was a black Muslim Boko Haram leader. Well, at least they made me look so. They didn't say it explicitly to my face, but they made me feel as if I was more or less one of those African Nigerian Islamic leaders like Boko Haram, who is kidnapping children and taking them hostages or something like that. And they made that true, asking me and maybe even the other student to teach a book written on Boko Haram by one of the scholars in the Global Affairs program, or one of those international affairs programs. So academic gaslighting, and well, of course, they're academic. I think the term might be right to use in this context. Academic wokists. They're wokists in academia. I mean, what are you awakened about is just questionable to me, because you didn't ask me as to how I use the term and what context. Well, I could say that the motto is cheap in the cultural sense of the word. It's not a feminist motto. To me, that doesn't sound like a feminist motto. That sounds like a loser's motto. And the loser in this case is Hillary Clinton. And well, they're both losers. I mean, there were two losers, and one of the losers lost. And in as much as there will be probably, if in the elections this year in the United States, if the losers would be Trump and Biden, they're two losers. And no matter who wins and who lost, there will be two losers. The winners would be two, if not feminist, but two female candidates would be more preferable. I'm not American, so it's just from a global and international viewpoint, to female candidates from both parties would be more preferable, because it's too toxic, the language. And if not for Hillary Clinton, but all the politics around that family, the Clinton family, it's just toxic. So she is not necessarily a feminist. It wouldn't be a female candidate. I mean, she's more or less like a candidate for the male dominant establishment in the United States, probably. So, I mean, they made the wokest in academia gaslit me for a while. For all my, like, I studied there for 3 years, and I left when I was writing my PhD dissertation. And in all those 3 years, I was surveilled and gaslit a lot. Especially, they all knew that, I mean, obviously, I was all the time openly atheist and socialist. And these two, well, I don't know if they liked atheists and socialists. But wokists and all the politics around these intersectionalities and identity politics, they just turned it into a complete irrationality, I think, and I believe. And that might have begun around the time when I was studying and teaching that course. And the students complained about me. She complained about me, and I think she took a few other students with her as well, about me using the term cheap for Hillary Clinton's post-election campaign of using the motto on a t-shirt and selling the t-shirt around, maybe in her website or whatever. Also, the other student from Canada who was supposed to teach the same course, another section, he disappeared after a few months. But it turns out that he failed in the teaching method of his course, and he blamed it on me, saying that he got the idea from me, which he didn't. I don't know what the idea he had in mind in the methods, in terms of the method of teaching the course, because he had, as far as I remember, he wasn't experienced in teaching, so he tried to make more or less a forum, and I wasn't making a forum. I was lecturing, and forum and lecture, these are two different forms of teaching a course. A forum is like a seminar. A lecture might include seminar in the form of Q&A in the last, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes of the course. So a forum is completely a Q&A. There's the questions and there's discussion. A lecture is teaching, tutoring, and then there might be a Q&A session. These are two different methods of teaching a course. The student's name was Landon Wilkins. He was a Canadian, maybe Canadian American by now, but he was from Canada. And he put the blame on me, and he told the supervisor, Lisa Braglia, that he got the idea of the method of a forum in teaching the course from me. I had never told him so, but it turns out that he might have made it up in his mind, because he was also complained. It turns out that he was also complained by a few of his students as well. Maybe he wanted to just blame it on me. Well, no matter what, he left the program. He couldn't study and teach. He left the program that semester, and I continued studying and teaching for 3 years. And I've been gaslit a lot and eventually canceled from that PhD program and school.